Look, if you're expecting a movie-style explosion or a high-speed car chase, you're in the wrong place. That's not how real espionage works. In my line of work, the most effective weapon is usually just simple misdirection. Getting the enemy to look at one hand, while the other hand is setting the trap. Today, I've pulled 3 files from the archives. 3 operations that sound completely ridiculous on paper. But here's the catch. 2 of them actually happened. People risked everything for them. The third one? It's a total lie. I wrote it myself just to see if you can spot the inconsistencies. Listen to the details carefully. Leave your guess in the comments before we hit the end of the tape. Let's see who gets fooled. Let's start in 1943. World War II. The Allied forces wanted to invade Sicily to get a foothold in Europe. The problem was, Hitler knew it was coming, and he had the island heavily fortified. So, how do you bypass an island packed with Nazi soldiers? Simple. You don't send a living agent. You look in a morgue. They went out and found the corpse of a homeless man in London who had died from swallowing rat poison. They dressed him up in a Royal Marines uniform, gave him a fake name, Major William Martin, and even put a picture of a fake fiancé in his pocket to make it look real. Then they chained a briefcase to his wrist. Inside were fabricated personal letters, suggesting that the Allies were actually planning to hit Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily. They took the body out on a submarine and dropped it off the coast of Spain. Now, why Spain instead of Italy? Simple. If a body washes up in Italy, Hitler smells a trap. But Spain was neutral, yet crawling with Nazi spies. The British knew the Spanish authorities would secretly copy the documents and hand them straight to Berlin. Except the trap almost blew up in their faces. When the body washed ashore, a sharp Spanish doctor performing the autopsy noticed something wrong. The lungs lacked the seawater of a true drowning victim. One more test, and the entire hoax would unravel. But Berlin was too impatient. They snatched the copied documents before the final medical report could stop them. And it worked. Hitler swallowed it whole. He moved an entire division of troops away from Sicily and sent them to Greece. When the Allies finally landed in Sicily, the door was practically wide open. A single corpse played Adolf Hitler like a fool. Now, let's jump to the mid-1960s, the height of the Cold War. London was a hotspot for Soviet diplomats, and we needed to know what they were discussing, but their security was tight. They swept their embassy rooms for electronic bugs every single day. So, their diplomats developed a habit. Whenever they had to discuss sensitive Kremlin business, they stepped outside. They walked the rainy streets of London, thinking they were safe. That's where we saw our loophole. London weather. We approached a luxury umbrella manufacturer on Jermyn Street, a place where Soviet elites loved to buy their traditional British gear. A little bit of cash, and the shop owner looked the other way. Our technical team carefully hollowed out the premium wooden handles. Inside, they placed a sub-miniature microphone and a tiny, long-lasting mercury battery, the copper wiring running up the center of the umbrella's steel shaft. That became the broadcast antenna. It continuously transmitted a very weak, short-range FM signal. It didn't need to transmit miles away. Whenever a target walked out into the rain, a British shadow agent would follow just 20 feet behind, looking like a random pedestrian. Hidden inside that agent's briefcase was a receiver and a miniature wire recorder. The heavy downpour actually drowned out the city traffic, leaving the voices under the umbrella crystal clear on our tape. But getting that tape required an agonizing gamble. When a top Soviet official came to the shop to pick up his custom order, the owner's hands shook so badly he almost dropped it. One suspicious glance at the slightly heavy wooden handle, and the secret was out. But the diplomat just smiled, took his new umbrella, and stepped out into the rain. Just like that, we mapped out half the Soviet naval strategy just by tracking which diplomats carried their umbrellas on a rainy Tuesday. Keep that one in mind. August 1950. The Korean War. General MacArthur was planning a near-impossible landing at INCHEON to turn the tide. But he was blind. He needed the enemy's coastal defense maps. So, we triggered Operation X-Ray. A handful of elite South Korean spies infiltrated the island. For days, they crawled through freezing, razor-sharp, muddy tidal flats, risking hypothermia and execution just to map every single artillery bunker by hand. But just days before the assault, the trap snapped shut. Midnight. A sudden crunch of boots on gravel. A shout in the dark. Then, pure chaos. A full North Korean battalion surrounded the hideout. Heavy automatic fire ripped through the wooden walls. Outnumbered 50-1, it became a brutal, bleeding foot race to the beach. They had to get those maps to the getaway boat. Muzzle flashes illuminated the trees. Bullets missed their spines by inches. They reached the dark shore, bleeding and out of time. Lieutenant Lim Byung-rae and Sergeant Hong Seuk looked at the water, then back at the advancing shadows. The math didn't work. There wasn't enough time for the entire team to board the small boat. Lim grabbed the waterproof pouch of intel, shoved it hard into a comrade's chest, and ordered, "Get the men out of here. Deliver this to MacArthur." Now. Before anyone could argue, Lim and Hong pushed the boat out into the black waves, sending their comrades to safety. They turned around, slammed fresh magazines into their rifles, and stepped right into the line of fire, screaming to draw the enemy away from the water. The boat escaped. The intel was safe. But on the beach, the gunfire stopped. Out of ammo, pinned to the dirt, facing brutal torture that would compromise the entire landing. The two heroes looked at each other. They turned their weapons on themselves. 1 week later, MacArthur's troops hit that exact beach, a landing bought with the blood of spies. So, 3 impossible secret operations: the corpse that talked, the whispering umbrella, and the INCHEON shadows. But only one of them is a lie. Have you made your guess? The lie is number 2, the whispering umbrella. Look, the agency tried some pretty wild things during the Cold War. We actually spent millions trying to turn a live cat into a walking microphone once. But the short-range transmitter inside a luxury British umbrella? Pure fiction. I made it up. But case 1 and case 3, absolutely real. A single homeless man's corpse really did play Adolf Hitler like a fool, and those brave South Korean heroes, Lieutenant Lim and Sergeant Hong, really did sacrifice their lives on that freezing beach to make the INCHEON landing possible. In the world of espionage, the truth is always much stranger and bloodier than fiction. If you want to uncover more dark secrets from history that they tried to bury, hit that subscribe button. Keep your eyes open and watch who's walking behind you in the rain.